Okay, right? So how to perform crude operations? I explained. Okay, right? So these are the things what we have seen in the last class. And after that, so we are talking about Flask authentication. So we are talking about Flask authentication here. Class 4 is both are in one. Class 4 and class 5 is this only because the complete application, class 4, class 5 is complete application, right? So here I said about Flask authentication. So Flask doesn't comes with inbuilt authentication library, but when you are working with Django, Django provides inbuilt authentication system. But here you cannot have inbuilt authentication system. Okay. So you have to use one library. And what is the name of that library is Flask login. Okay. So this library provide as a popular library for developing authentication for web application. But in Django, you'll get automatically, but here you don't get automatically. You have to install it. Okay. You have to install. So here, what you are trying to do is so install the Flask login, and what this login will provide is so Flask login provide session management. It will provide session management and it will provide the methods. So what Flask login provides? Okay. So Flask login module provides Flask login module provides. Okay, now it provides some inbuilt methods. It provides the inbuilt methods for login. It will provide the inbuilt methods for login. Okay, it will provide inbuilt method for registration. It will provide inbuilt method for logout. It will provide inbuilt method for what session management. Okay, even session management, even done by using Flask authentication, that is nothing but Flask login. So all these things are provided by which one? Flask authentication. Okay. So then what are the basic steps to work with this Flask login? Okay. So what are the basic steps? What are the basic steps? Now you should know what is authentication. So what is authentication? What is authentication? Authentication is a process of authentication. Authentication is a process of identifying. So what you are identifying? User details, user details or credentials, user details or what is that? Credentials. So that you can call it as which one here? Authentication. It's nothing but you are trying to verify what you are trying to verify username. Okay, what you are trying to verify password. It means is that a person is authenticated for accessing resources. It is not authorization. It is what? Authentication. So authentication is a process of identifying the user details. User details are user credentials. Identifying the user details are user credentials. That you can call it as which one? Authentication. Okay. For example, you'll say, okay, if you say this login for Facebook. Now, where you enter username and password. As for accessing this application resources, you must be authenticated first. If you are not authenticated, then you are not allowed to access it. If you are not authenticating it, you are not allowed to access it. Okay, right? So compulsory you must be what here? Authenticated. So where you enter login details like this. So verifying this email address or mobile number and verifying this password, that you can call it as which one? Authentication. So after authentication, you'll your application might verify is it that person is authorized or not. And once authenticated, then it'll have a different roles. The roles are nothing but what here? Authorization. But nowadays you'll get different dashboards for each each user. Okay. So in that case, you don't require to check for the roles. But if number of people are there, then your application even try to check the role is having this particular role or not. That process you call it as what? Authorization. Getting on. So, but here authentication is provided inbuilt like this. Okay. Now, what are the basic steps? Authentication is a process of identifying the user details or identifying the user credentials, whether he is a valid user or not. Whether he is a valid user or not. That you can call it as which one? Authentication. So, what is authentication means like this? Identifying the user device is a security process of verifying the identity of the user. But what is the identity of the user? Identity can be, suppose a person might be logging with OTP number. So OTP number is what? Authentication details. Okay, OTP number, user details, PIN number, all these are what? Authentication. Okay, right? So if he is authenticated, then only he can able to access it, right? So that is what you mean by authentication here. Then what are the basic steps to work with Flask authentication? So basic steps to work with Flask login, Flask login or authentication, Flask authentication, Flask login or Flask authentication. The first step is you have to install Flask login, install Flask login module, install the Flask login module. Okay, so just open the VS Code. So if you already have a project, so here I'm creating a project folder. Okay, now this is my project folder, right? So select the project folder, and then what you are trying to do is you are trying to install. Okay, install the Flask login by saying pip install Flask login, install Flask login. So try to install this library. Now this library is already installed. Okay, so first step is you have to install this Flask login. After installing the Flask login, okay, this is the first step. So try to do this at the terminal. Okay. After installing the library, second step is now you have to create a model. Second step is a create model. You have to create a model. Okay, which model you have to create? A user model. Create a model with, okay, create a model. So why this model is to store whose details? User details. You have to create a model for storing user details. Whenever you are talking about authentication, okay, first user must be registered. Okay, register is nothing but what here? Sign up. What is the meaning of register here? Sign up. So sign up is nothing but is a process of storing the user details into the database. It is a process of storing the user details within the database. So first thing is you have to create a model, and that model should inherit the methods of login. That model should inherit the methods of which one? Login. What are the methods of login, you have a logout, you have a register. All these methods should be there or not? Yes. Because when you say login, create the session. When you say logout, the session will be closed. When you say register, the details will get stored in what? Model. Yes or no? All these are inbuilt methods. But who's providing inbuilt methods? Flask login. So Flask login provide a mixin class. Mixin is for achieving multiple inheritance. It is for achieving multiple inheritance. Okay. So what is the syntax of creating this model is you're trying to write class model name. Now here from Flask login, you have to import one module. What is the name? One class. And what is the name of this class is user mixin class. What this user mixin class is having? All the methods. What methods you find in user mixin class? Login, register, logout. All these methods you find in which class? User mixin class. Okay. It means you don't require, right? Those are provided by which one? User mixin class. So this model inherit user mixin class. This model inherit user mixin class, and at the same time, it also inherit which class? Model class. It also inherit which class? Model class with some fields. You have to define some fields. What fields you have to define? Some ID. Now here you define the field names. Okay, you define some field names. What are the field names now? Every user is identified with ID. Then just give ID and username as well as what? Password. Username as well as password. Now this is second step. After creating a model, now once the model is created, then how can I use the resources of this login module? How can I use the resources of this login module? For that, you have to create a login manager. What do you have to create? A login manager object. You have to create which object? Login manager object. So from Flask login, there is one class. What is the name of the class is login manager. So there is one class, and what is the name of the class is login manager. You have to create an instance of which class? Login manager class. But why you are creating an instance of login manager class? You are creating an instance login manager class to manage. Manage is nothing but, for example, creating a session. Okay, creating a session means once you log in, your details should be stored somewhere. Okay, so it should identify is it the request is come from the same user or not. All these details will be maintained by storing in one cookie. All these details will be stored inside one cookie. And this is managed by which one here? Login manager. Okay, this is managed by which one? Login manager. So what you have to create is create instance of which one? Login manager. Create instance or object of which one? Login manager. So you have a class. What is the name of the class is login manager. So Flask authentication provide a login manager. So this is a login manager. Okay, that is nothing but load. See here, session management. Okay, using or loading information about user from database. So login manager is a central class of the Flask login extension, which manages user sessions in Flask application, and it tracks whether user is logged in or out and protects specific routes and unauthorized what access. So session management means it will store the user details within the cookie, means how the session is managed between the client and server by storing this user ID into the cookie. And this cookie contain the information about which one? Client. So what are the implementations here? I said no, you have to create object of which class? Login manager class. Okay, you have to create login manager class and you have to register your application with what? Login manager by using one method called init app. And you need to define the login manager login view. It means whenever you log out, now this is nothing but redirecting. Okay, suppose if the user is not logged in and is trying to access it, if user is not logged in and is trying to access it, then he should route to which page again? Login. Okay, so create an instance of login manager class. First step is create an instance of login manager class and then register Flask application. Register Flask application with login manager. Okay, register Flask application with login manager. And third one is define. Okay, define login view. Define login view. Why login view? Because if user is trying to access one view, okay, where required a login is trying to access one view. Suppose is trying to access deposit or is trying to access what? Withdraw. But withdraw required what? A login. If authentication is required, withdraw required authentication, deposit required what? Authentication. Okay. If it's not authenticated, then is not allowed to access it. Is not authenticated, then is not allowed to access it. Right? So create an instance of login manager class and register Flask application with login manager and define the login view. This is nothing but redirecting view. This is nothing but redirecting. This is nothing but redirecting view. Okay. And after this, you have to develop a views. So fourth step is develop views. So you have to develop views for what? Login. You have to develop a view for register. You have to develop a view for logout. You have to develop a view which you want to access it. Okay. So after login, you should access one resource. Okay. So for accessing that resource, which one is required? Login is required. Okay. Now create a view to access. Okay. To access only which users? Authenticated users. So all these things you have to do it if you want to work with which application? Authentication application, right? So these are the basic steps. First, anyway, you have to install the Flask login. And second one is you have to create a model. So create a model by inheriting which class? User mixin class. And model is a model class and define the field names and import the Flask login and use login manager and register your application with the login manager, and then develop views, login view, register view, logout view, and create view to access only which users, authenticated users. So let us develop this. Okay. But again, I'm using SQLite only because it is very simple to implement it. So first thing is, so first what you do is develop application.py. So first step is you have to develop a application. Okay, already we have done this creating application. So first thing is you create an application. So here I created application from Flask, import. So you are trying to import one class, and what is the name of the class is Flask. Okay. And I want to create a database. So I want to create a database, right? So configure the database. So here I said application Flask name and application dot configure, and you are trying to define the database. Okay. And after this, the next thing is develop a model. So there is a models.py. So in models.py, so create a model. In models.py, create a model. So here I'm creating a model by narrating model class provided by DB. And DB is nothing but instance of ORM class. And what is the name of the class is SQL Alchemy. And here I'm trying to define certain things. First one is ID. Okay, ID is there. And here I'm saying DB dot. It is which column? Integer, and primary key equal to true. Primary key equal to true. And second one is, now what is the name of this table is users. I'm creating a model called which one? User. And this user model inherits from a Flask login, import, from Flask login import. So there is one class. And what is the name of the class is user mixin. There's one class. And what is the name of the class is user mixin. So user mixin. So mixin class is nothing but adding some extra functionality. You are adding some extra functionality to which class? Model. Now this is nothing but multiple inheritance. This is multiple inheritance. Now user is inheriting which class? User mixin class. Okay. And this user mixin class is available in which class? Flask login. This module called Flask login. Then next you are trying to define user name. So db dot. So there is a field, and what is the name of, what is the type is string, and define what is the size you want to define. I've given some 30, and user name must be what here? Unique. So here I'm saying unique equal to what here? True. So duplicate usernames are not allowed. So I'm using a unique, and the value of unique is what here? True. And then define the password, and db dot column, and db dot string. and define the password. I'm trying to define the password with the 20. But how you want to store the password, you can define here. Will you want to store the password in as it is, or you want to store the password by encrypting it? You want to store the password as it is, or you want to store the password by encrypting. Encrypting means where you have to apply the algorithms. Encryption is nothing but converting plain text into what? Ciphertext. And decryption is nothing but converting ciphertext into plain text. But how this conversion is done? By using a key. And there are so many algorithms out there. So some algorithms uses only private key. Some algorithm uses public and private keys for encrypting and what? Decrypting. So a lot of algorithms are there. Now, at the time of creating a password field, you can define whether you want to store the password into the database as it is, or you want to store it by encrypting. But here, I'm trying to store it as it is. I'm not encrypting which one? Password. But in real time, you don't store the password as it is. What do you do it? You try to store by encrypting it. Okay. By encrypting it. But here I'm trying to store it directly. Password equal to db dot colon. You can define the encrypted field. Okay. You can also define the encrypted field by using. Yeah, you can also define the encrypted field at the time of creating this only. Okay, password field can define that. Okay, yes. So create a model, and what is the name of the model is user. Yeah, you can also use MySQL database, but only the thing is you have to give host name, username, password, port number that you have to give. That's it. Apart from that, everything is same. Okay, right. Or any database, it is same. Only code is the same. Only database changes. Okay. Okay. Now at the time of creating a Flask application, or at the time of configuring your application, you have to define. At the time of configuring your application even should config. Your application even should config by using one value. And what is that value is secret key. Okay, there is one value, and that value is called as a secret key, and equal to key. You have to define the key. But what is the use of this secret key is, now the secret key is used for encrypting, or the secret key you can call it as CSRF token. CSRF means cross-site request forgery. It means whenever you are storing the session details within the cookie, now the data will be exchanged from the client to what? Server. Because see, whenever you log in, okay, your details should be stored somewhere or not. Yes, because whenever client send a request to the server, every request sent by client to server is a new request. It is a new request, and client server doesn't identify the request is come from which client. So because of that, you are storing whose details? Client details, either at server side or either at client side. Client side means where you are storing in browser, and in browser you are storing in the form of cookie. And whenever you exchange the data from client to what? Server, you want to exchange it by using what? One secret key. Getting on not? Now this you can call it as CSRF token. This is called as which one? CSRF token. And this is a string, and you can give any string. Okay, any secret key you can give it. Okay, I'm just writing some ABC 123. Now this is my secret key. But this key gets stored inside what? This key gets stored inside what? Browser. This key gets stored inside what? Browser. Okay, application.config. You have to config with which one here? Secret key. But what is the use of this secret key is whenever client send a request to the server, it will send it by using what? One secret key. That is identified by your application. Is it the request is come from the same client or not? Okay. So not only that, it is also used for encrypting which one cookies, information and storing inside what browser. Even that is also done by using which one secret key. Secret key application dot config application dot config. Now there is a secret key required for session encryption. It means whenever you are storing the cookie contain which information? Client information, right? But where these cookies are get stored in browser, these cookies get stored inside what? Browser. But inside a browser, you don't want the cookie to be stored as it is. You want the cookie to be stored by encrypting it. But for encryption, what you require a key. For decryption also you require the same key or not? Yes. So cookie is stored in the browser in encrypted format, and whenever client send a request, then that cookie has to be decrypted or not? Yes. By using the same key or different key? Same key. Now this key you call it as which one? Secret key. Now this particular thing you call it as a secret key, right? So you have to define this. Then after that you have to from Flask login from Flask login import Flask manager. Sorry, import. What is the name of that is login manager. Now create an instance of login manager. You are writing like this login manager. So login manager, create a login manager. Okay. So login manager equal to login manager. So why you are creating a login manager? Why you are creating a login manager? You are creating a login manager here. You are creating a login manager for loading the user details. Okay, for loading the user details and using all these functions like logout user, login user, okay, and login required. All this you find inside what login manager. All this you find inside what login manager, right? Yes, create. So create a login manager and initialize your application with login manager by saying login manager dot initialize the application init app login manager dot init app, and you are trying to initialize your application means you are trying to register your application with what login manager. But what your application is having some configuration is there or not? Yes. What configuration you have? Secret key. What configuration you have? Database URI. What is the configuration you have? SQL track modification. So all these details used by whom? Login manager. All these details are used by login manager, and login manager dot login manager dot login view. So what is the use of this login view is whenever you log out, suppose you log out, then it should redirect to what? Login. Okay, suppose you are accessing some resource without a login. You are accessing some resource without login, then it should automatically redirect to which one? Login view. Now you have to define here URL. You have to define the URL for what? Login. So just to define, so this function should be same. Now these are the things what you have to do. Now I said no, these are the basic steps. create a login manager and define the login view. And this login view is nothing but a redirecting view. So once it is done, next what you have to do, you have to develop the views for login. You have to develop a view. You have to develop a view for login. You have to develop a view for yes. Okay, the first step is again after creating a login manager, what you have to do is you have to load whose details here, user details. You have to load the user details. Okay. So for that, I am writing one function here. And what is the name of the function is some load user is a function. And what this function is for loading whose details here, user details. It is loading whose details here, user details. Load user, load user. Okay. Load user is a user defined function only. It is not a predefined. But where is the user details are in? Or where is the user details are in? User details are there in model or not? Yes. What is the name of the model is? User. What is the name of the model is? User. Okay. Load user. Okay. So from models import. What is the name of the model is? Okay. User model. What is the name of the model? User. Means this load user should load the details of user from which model? User model. So for that you are using user dot. What is the name of the method is query. User dot query dot. What is the name of the method is getter. So get integer of because you are trying to identify the user with what here ID. But ID is which type? Integer die. So integer of you should get the user ID. So what is the name of the column is ID. So it is searched by using which key? Primary key. And this is written. It means whenever you want user details, you can just call one function. And what is the name of the function here? Load user. Okay, what is the name of the function here? Load user. But how you are loading the user by just saying user dot query dot get and you are trying to get the details by using which one? ID. Okay, but this load user should load user details when it should load the user details whenever you log in. Okay, when you should load the user details whenever you log in. For that, you are trying to use one decorator. What is the name of that is login manager dot user underscore. What is the name of this? Loader. Okay, user underscore what here? Loader. Okay, so when you should load this user details whenever you user is what? Login. Whenever user is login, then it should load whose details? User details. Okay. Now, if you want, you can directly write inside a login, but you can write in a separate function. And what is the name of the function is load user. But this is having one parameter. And what is the parameter is ID. Because every user is identified with what? ID. Now you have to understand this. Okay. Then after that, you have to write. You have to write a function for, you have to write a view for register. You have to write a view for register. Register is nothing but login or is it sign in or sign up? Sign up means where you have to store this user details within the model. Okay, if you are writing if request double equal to what? Request dot. Okay, request dot method. Okay, if request dot method equal to post, if the request dot method equal to post, now try to import. What is the name of this object is request. The object name is what here? Request. If the request method is a post, what do you have to do? You have to read the details. What details you have to read? User ID. You have to read the user ID. But user ID, okay, there is an ID. Okay, db.integer primary key equal to true and username and one more is what? Password. Okay. Now if the request method is a post, if the request method is a post, you are trying to read whose details? User details. But what are these user details? Two things. One is username and one more is a password. One is a username and one more is a password. Now you have to read these details. You have to read these details and you have to store these details into what? User model. Then create. User equal to user. Means I created object of which class? Or I created object of which class? Model class. And here I'm writing what is the name of that is username. Username is a column or not? Yes. Column name is what? Username. Username. See here, your model is having what? Username. Username equal to request dot. Username equal to request dot. Request dot what is that? Form. And your form is having one field. Assume that your form is having a field called again username and then password. Then password. Sorry. Okay. Then password password equal to password equal to here I'm writing request dot form. You are reading the details of which one? Password. So you created an object of which class? Model class. Because registration is nothing but storing user details into what? Database. A registration is nothing but storing user details into what? Database. You are storing the user details into database and you are saying here db dot session dot what is the name of the method is add db dot session dot add and db represent your database, but here we have not created context. Yeah, will create. We have not imported db. So just import database from models. Import what here? db. So db dot session dot add user, db dot session dot add user, and db dot session dot commit. So commit is nothing but saving changes. After that, you should redirect to which URL login. You have to redirect to which URL here login. Okay, return redirect template. Okay, redirect template. Okay, redirect. What is the name of the function is redirect. So you have to import comma. What do you have to import? Redirect. You have to import which one? URL per redirect as well as URL per URL for what is the name of this view is login. When if the request method is what here post. Okay. But if the request method is not post, if it is a request method is what get, then I should display which is template registration template. I have to display registration template. So return you have to import render template. So what is the name of the function is render template. So you are trying to render the template and what is the name of the template? register dot html. And this method identified by using application dot router, application dot route. And what is the name of this I'm giving is register. So comma, it is trying to handle some request methods. How many methods it is handling? Two methods. One is a get and one more is a post. See here. This is what exactly get method and one more is a post. If the request method is a get, then you'll get which template? Register dot html, and you enter username and password and click on register. Then request is come from the same view or different view, same view. In that case, the request method is what? Post. If the request method is a post, you are creating object of which one? Model. And you are adding that user into what? Database. And you commit the changes by saying db.session.commit. db.session.commit. Okay. Now this you can call it as register. Okay. Created what here? Register. Then next one is once you register, then you log in. So for login, you required one more view. And what is the name of the view is login view. So for login, you required one more view. And what is the name of the view is login view, where you input username and password. Here you are trying to input username and password. Okay. So if yeah, so first we register. So after register, what we are doing? We are login. So what is the name of this is application dot route. And what is the name of the URL is login. And here I'm trying to define the methods. I'm trying to define the methods. What is the name of this is login register. Okay, slash. So method equal to get. So method equal to get. Okay, method equal to what here? Post. Why here again post method is you are creating a session. Why again post here is you are creating a session for this user. But where this session details get stored in browser. It will store this session details in the browser in the form of cookies. It will store this session details within the browser in the form of cookies. Okay. So because of that, you are trying to use which method here? Post method. Because login is which request? Get request or post request? Get. Because it will not do anything at server side or not. Yes, it just get the details. It just get the details. Now here I'm saying if request dot method double equal to get. If the request method is a get, what you have to do? You have to get the user details. Okay, I'm saying here user. Okay, user dot. So user dot query dot query dot. So there is a method. You can use a method called filter by. So whereas in Django you are using filter and you have a method called what? Get. But here I am using a filter by. Okay, filter by, or you can use get method also. Okay, filter by returns one instance or more than one, more than one. So where I'm writing user name, okay, user name equal to request dot form, because you are again you are submitting the form and you are reading the user name and comma. So comma is which operation? And operation. Comma is which operation here? And operation. Request dot form, and you are reading whose details? Password. Now, if username equal to given username and password equal to given password. But here filter returns one instance or more than one. Means you'll say filter returns query set. But get method returns what? Model instance. Get method returns a model instance, but filter get the query set. And from query set, you read first row by using which method? First. So there is navigation methods you have first to last. First and what is that? Last. Okay. Now this is when if the user request dot method equal to get. Suppose if user is valid. Suppose first means it returns first row. Suppose there is query set is empty. If the query set is empty and if I say first, will it return any model instance? No, it doesn't return model instance, but rather than it returns none. It returns what? None. So if user is exist, okay, if user is exist, then what I have to do? If user is exist, then what I have to do? If user is exist, what I have to do? I have to create a session. I have to create a session or not? Yes. I have to create a session for that user. But how can I create a session for that user? For that, now you have one method. You have one method. So Flask login is provided one function called which one here? Login user. What is the name of the function? Login user. Login user is an inbuilt function. If the user is exists, what I'm saying login user by giving which details user details means every user is identified with what username. Every user is identified with what username. User is identified with what username. When if the user is exists. If the user is exists, then it will identified with what? User name. Username. Where is this username in? User dot. User dot. Username. Or you can send directly whose details? User details. Login user with user details and return. Return. What will I do is redirect URL URL for I'll try to redirect to one dashboard when if the user is valid. So I'll try to I'll try to display which one dashboard. When the dashboard is displayed, if the user details are valid. But if the user details are not valid, if the user details are not valid, then okay, if the user details are not valid and if the request method is not get, okay, then it will come to return. Okay, return render template, and what is the name of the template is login.html. What is the template is login.html. When if the request method is this request method is here not get because getting the login template is get method and creating a session is which method? Post method. Getting the template is a get method and creating a session is which method? Post method. So where you input username and password. See here. Now these are the things which are required. First one is register and second one is what? Login. So after registration, it will redirect to which one? Login. And login template you'll get it where you enter username and password. After giving username and password, you click on again login. Then the request is come to login view, and the request method is what? Post, because it is creating a session by invoking one function called login user. On successful login, it will try to redirect you to which view? Dashboard. And where dashboard will render one template. But before displaying the dashboard, again you will check, is it this user is already logged in or not? Whether this user is logged in or not. Okay, right? So that is about register, and one more is a login. Okay, then next one is you required dashboard. You required which one? Dashboard. Dashboard is there. So what is the name of the function is? Dashboard. At the rate application dot router. And what is the name of this view here? Dashboard. Dashboard. And what is the request method is? Get only. And this will return what is the name? Sorry. Return, return, okay, return render template. And what is the name of the template is? Dashboard. Dashboard dot HTML. What is the name of the template? Dashboard dot HTML. But when this dashboard is displayed, if the username and password is valid. But before displaying the dashboard even, I want to verify, is it login is what required. So in Django, how we are using same login required. Login required is a decorator available in what? Flask login. Login underscore required. Login underscore what here? Required. Login underscore required is a decorator. It means before displaying a dashboard, suppose you already logged out, but if you are trying to access which one? Dashboard, then it will try to display. What it display? Login required. Means login required, it is redirecting to which one? Login dot HTML again. Okay. Yes. Then next one is, okay. Now we need to create a templates. We have to create a templates, and how many templates we have to create? So there is a template called register dot HTML, and there is a template called login dot HTML, and we have to create a template called dashboard dot HTML. But first page you find registration. Okay, first home is what? Registration, where you enter details. And there you also find one more thing is a sign in. New user sign up, sign in. Two things are there. One is new user sign up, and one more is what? Sign in. Okay. So now this is a dashboard dot. Now create one folder. So create one folder, and what is that? Templates dot. Sorry. Create one folder called templates. And inside this templates folder, okay, always you store the templates into which folder? Templates folder. You always store the template, I mean, details in which folder? Templates folder. So inside the templates folder, create a template called dashboard.html. Create a template called dashboard.html, right? So this is the template. But here we are displaying the template. But are you sending any user details here? No. If you want, you can send the user details to which template? Dashboard template, by saying user equal to what? User. So what details you are sending? User details. And in dashboard.template, and just display one message. And what is the message is? H2, I'm writing hello, username. So welcome. I'm just displaying the message called which one? Welcome. When if the user is valid. If the user is valid, then you will get this. If the user is not valid, then we'll get these details here? No. Right? Okay, then create one more template. And what is the template is login.html. So you can inherit actually base template you can take. But anyway, I'm writing individual templates. So what you have to do is you have to create columns and you have to input what? Username. So input type is a text and name equal to what? Username. Okay. So column. So you have to input the password and table column and you are writing input type. So input type is password and name equal to password. Okay. So name equal to password. Then table row and table column and input type is submit and value equal to login. This is for what here? Login. Input type is some reset and value equal to what here? Clear. Okay, right? So this is a login and all these are there inside what? Form. So form method equal to what here? Post. The request method is what here? Post. Okay, now this is login template. So the way how you are creating a login template, you have to create one more template. And what is a template is a register template. So there is one more template is a register.html. I've used same name. So register.html. So same where you have to input username and password. You have to input username and password. And then here no login, but instead of this, you are writing which one? Register. Instead of this, you are saying register by giving name as well as what? User name. Okay, right? And then we also develop which one? Dashboard. So these are number of templates we have seen. Okay, right? So that's all. So we develop login, register. So this is for session management. This is for session management. Uh, yeah, we load the user, register, login, dashboard. Okay, we required one more, right? What is that here? Logout. So there is one more called logout. And for logout, what you required? Login required. For logout, login is required. And there is a application dot route. So what is the name of this is logout. This is a logout. But how can you log out? So you can log out by using logout user. Now here you have function called login user, right? There is a login user in the same way. You have to say logout user, logout user. Logout user is inbuilt function, and this you find in Flask login. So what is the name of this is logout user. Logout user is there in this. So logout user, and after logout, you have to say return. Okay, after logout, what do you have to do? You have to return. Return render. So what is the name of the view? Sorry, return. So redirect. So redirect to which view? Login view. So once it is done, redirect to which view? Login view. Okay. But we have to display logout. Where we have to display logout in dashboard. So go to the dashboard, and in the dashboard, I need to put one link. Yes or no? Okay, I have to put one link. And what is the link is here? Logout. Because once the user is successfully login, then we log out. So once I click on logout, the request come to which view? Logout view. Okay, there it will log out the user and redirect to which one? Login. Okay, right? So that is in dashboard. Then next one is you have to build a database. You have to create database or not? Yes. So with application dot context, okay, right? So db.init app. So you are configuring database using the details of which one? Application. Okay, right? Yes. And then you have to migrate it by saying db dot create all. That's all right. So let us run this. See, you can create one more page where you can put login, logout. Okay. So where you suppose in the login.html only, in login.html only, I can write one more here. What is it? Another one is new user sign up. Okay. I can write here new user sign up. Okay. If you are a new user, then sign up from here. New user sign up. Sign up or what is it? Register. So new user, instead of saying sign up, I'll try to write what here? Register. So you are sending a request to what is the name of that? Register. What is the name of that? Register. Okay. So first you are trying to open which page? Login. So in the login, you have two things. One is new user sign up and sign in with existing user details like username as well as password. So let us run this and check application dot py. Oh, we have to. Anyway, database is created. Okay, right? So in the database, the table is created with the ID and username and password, right? So next we have to run the application, right? Have you run the application? No. If underscore name double equal to what? Underscore main. And then what you're saying? Application dot run. That's all right. Okay. Now, so run the application, right? Okay, slash. So what is the name of this is login. Okay. Now here you have a new user register. If you are a new user, then click on here. New user register, not there. Register. Not there. Register. So where is the mistake is there? Server is running. Register. Uh, Q. Why double slash here? Why double slash is not required? Login is single slash only, right? Path is single slash only. Suppose login. Login is coming, right? So why it is appending slash? Login. It's okay. By two slashes, if I put, it's coming, right? Why? Two slashes are not required. Path is only separated with one slash. Application dot router register methods equal to both. Okay, no problem. But here you have to understand, I'll just check this. Where is the error is. But see, once you click on the login, once you click on the login, I'll just check the error and I'll explain it. So once you click on the login, so once I enter these details and here I try to enter username and password and click on login. But actually it is not logged in because this user is exist or not exist, not exist. If the user is, but are you handle any error here? No, do not handle any error because if the user is in the logins here, if the user is exists, you are doing like this. If the user is not exists, you render template, but here you can send a message. What is a message? Invalid username or invalid username or password. Okay. In login template, you can display this message. In login template, you can display this message saying that this is a message and this is which message? Error message. So enter the username and password, click on login. You can say invalid username or password. But because we have not, yes. So new user register. Why? href register. Just a minute. It's not saving it. It's one slash only. Okay, right? I'll just check this. Let it be by time waste. But you have to understand this process here. So new user is not giving it. No problem. So I'll just check where is the error is. Okay. So register.